My name is Hollis Keaton. I am 63 years old. That afternoon, I was standing in my small Milwaukee kitchen trying to soften a piece of day-old bread with a bit of broth when my phone buzzed on the counter. The vibration was sharp, the kind that usually means a bank warning. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked it up, already bracing for something small but irritating. What appeared on the screen made the room tilt. Unusual transaction alert. Please verify immediately. The number below it felt unreal, more than $35,000 charged in Dubai. I read it twice, then a third time. My breath caught somewhere between my ribs, and the silence of the kitchen suddenly felt heavy, as if the air itself had grown thicker. I had never traveled outside the Midwest in my entire life. Dubai might as well have been another planet. Before I could process anything, another notification slid across the screen. Then a notification from Lila appeared. I tapped it, and a photo opened my daughter in a turquoise pool that seemed to float above the city. The Dubai skyline glowed behind her. She was smiling, lifted by warm desert light. Beside her, draped in a white hotel robe with gold stitching, was her mother-in-law, Veronica Roth. Both held flutes of champagne. Across the image, in bright lettering, were the words, "She deserves a vacation. You don't." My fingers went cold. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. I lowered myself into the nearest chair, afraid my knees might give out. For a long moment, I could not feel anything at all. Only a strange quietness crawling through my chest. A quiet that felt like something ending, or breaking, or both. I set the phone on the table, the Dubai skyline still shining back at me, and in that small, dim kitchen, a single thought formed steady, deliberate, unmistakably clear. This was not something I could ignore. I reached for the phone again. Chapter 2 would begin with the years that brought me here. I had Lila when I was 24. Her father left before she turned 2, leaving a stack of unpaid bills and a note that said he was not built for responsibility. I remember reading it at the kitchen table. Lila babbling in her high chair, completely unaware that the world had just shifted beneath us. I worked double shifts after that. Mornings at the clinic, evenings answering phones at a warehouse office. I would come home with my legs shaking and heat packets tucked into my boots because Wisconsin winters can swallow a person whole. Some nights I skipped dinner so Lila could have a full plate, and she would toddle over, pat my knee, and say, "Mama, you eat too." I would pretend I was not hungry. She was a gentle child, a soft-voiced girl who clung to me when I picked her up from daycare. One day, she used to say, "I'm going to take you somewhere warm. No more snow, no more cold." She said it with such certainty that I believed her, even when I should have known better. As she grew older, the sweetness didn't disappear, it just shifted. She became aware of the world, aware of how little we had compared to her friends whose parents owned lake houses and vacation photos. She tried to hide it, but I saw the flicker in her eyes when she overheard adults talk about money. I saw the embarrassment when she had to explain why her mother walked to work instead of owning a car. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that love could hold us together through anything. But love stretches and stretches until one day you realize it has thinned to something fragile. That realization settled in my chest as I stared at her message from Dubai. Lila met Mark Roth at a corporate training seminar in Chicago. She called me that night, breathless, telling me how smart he was, how confident, how he made her feel seen. When I met him a few months later, he shook my hand politely, but his eyes flicked over my thrift store coat, and something in his smile tightened. I noticed the subtle tightening in his smile. Lila, as usual, pretended not to see it. Their wedding was elegant in a way I had only ever seen on television. Veronica Roth, Mark's mother, greeted me with a practiced warmth. "Hollis, dear, so lovely to finally meet you." Her voice was smooth, her grip light as air. During dinner, she leaned closer and asked, "Is Milwaukee very limiting for career growth?" "I imagine it must be." Lila stiffened beside me, whispering, "Mom, please," as if I had said something shameful. After the ceremony, Veronica took a photo with Lila and said, "My beautiful girl finally joining a family that matches her potential." I stood 3 feet away, smiling like it didn't sting. The first shift was subtle. Lila started asking if I could dress up a bit when we went out. She explained it gently, but her eyes avoided mine. "You know how Mark's colleagues are," she said. "They just notice things." Then came the holidays. The Roths hosted Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then Easter. "It's just easier for everyone if we stay in Chicago." Lila said, "Traffic, logistics, you know how it gets." She tried to sound apologetic, but her relief was too obvious. Our visits dropped to once a month, then once every few months. When she did come by, she stayed less than an hour, always checking her phone, always saying she had another thing with Mark's family. One autumn afternoon, as she stood in my doorway adjusting her expensive coat, I said, "You never stay long anymore." She looked at me gently, almost pitying. "Mom, my life is different now." It was the first time I truly felt the distance growing and that it was not an accident. It was late December when Lila showed up at my door without warning. She rarely came alone anymore, so seeing her on the porch with no car idling behind her made my heart lift. She took off her gloves, rubbing her hands together like she was nervous. "Mom, can I come in for a bit?" she asked. I made tea, and she followed me into the kitchen as if she hadn't outgrown the space. Years ago, she kept glancing around, her eyes softening at the familiar photos and chipped mugs. For a moment, she looked like the girl I used to know. She sat down and said quietly, "I've been thinking about you. You live alone. What if something happens and I can't help you fast enough?" I told her I managed fine. She shook her head, reaching for my hand. "Mom, listen, at your age, emergencies happen. If I had your card information, your billing details, I could call the hospital, authorize treatment, take care of everything." The way she said, "take care of everything," made my chest warm. No one had said words like that to me in years. "I just want to be prepared," she continued. "I want to be the kind of daughter you can rely on." I hesitated, but she squeezed my fingers gently. I gave her the numbers. She typed them into her phone, nodding solemnly. "Only if it's ever absolutely necessary," she promised. Back then, I believed her. Sitting at my kitchen table now, the Dubai photo still open on my screen, I understood exactly what I had given her that day. Not just the card, not just the numbers. I had handed her my trust, and she had known it. I sat at my kitchen table with the bank's fraud page open on my phone, the numbers glowing like they were carved into my skin. I clicked the first transaction, hoping it would make more sense once I saw the details. It did not. 2 first-class round-trip flights from Chicago to Dubai. I read aloud, my voice barely a whisper. $9,800 each. My hands trembled. I opened the next one, a suite at the Burj Al Arab, $7,000 a night. I blinked hard. 7 nights. Then came the restaurant's $300 here, $500 there until the charges blurred into each other. I scrolled further and saw one labeled 24-karat gold facial, another for a private desert tour with champagne, another for luxury shopping clothes and jewelry totaling over $4,000. My throat tightened when I saw the names attached to the booking Mark Roth. Veronica Roth, Lila Roth. I stared at Veronica's name for a long time. The luxury, the hotel robes, The perfect images, they were all being paid for by the woman she had once called a good influence. And the money funding it belonged to me, not a wealthy retiree, not someone with investments or a cushion, just me, a woman who spent decades trying to stretch a paycheck across a life. My phone buzzed again, another notification. Matching charge pending approval. I pressed my palm to my forehead. Lila, what did you do? I opened the photo she had posted again. The pool. The blue sky. Veronica leaning back with that satisfied smile, the smile of someone who had never had to check a price tag in her life. The heartbreak hit first, a heavy, crushing weight that made my chest ache. The disbelief followed. And then, slowly, a different feeling rose through the cracks, a steady, cooling resolve. I tapped the bank's number and waited. When the representative answered, I swallowed the lump in my throat. I need to report fraudulent activity on my account, I said. She asked if I wanted to freeze the card temporarily. No, I replied, hearing my own voice change. Permanently, there was a pause as she processed it. When she confirmed the block, something inside me settled into place. The card was gone. The charges would decline. And in a hotel thousands of miles away, they would learn it before I said a single word. The first call came just after dawn. I was still in my robe, waiting for the kettle to boil, when my phone vibrated with Lila's name. Mom. Her voice was high, breathless. Mom, something's wrong with your card. I kept my tone even. What do you mean? The hotel says the payment didn't go through. They tried again and it keeps declining. I heard movement behind her. Someone whispering sharply. Then Mark's voice cut in. Put it on speaker. A click. Then, cold and clipped Hollis. You need to call your bank. Right now. This is embarrassing. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. Embarrassing for who? For all of us, Mark said sharply. We're at a 7-star hotel, and they keep asking for payment. Can you fix this quickly? My mistake, I asked quietly. There was a rustle, and then Veronica's voice icy, trembling with indignation. Hollis, do you understand what position you've put us in? I have never been spoken to like this in my life. I closed my eyes. The shift was dizzying. Hours earlier, they'd been sipping champagne on my dime. Now they were cornered animals. Lila's voice returned, thinner now. Mom, please just call the bank. Something must have happened to your account. Something did happen, I said. I blocked the card. Silence. The kind that carries the sound of everything falling apart. What Lila breathed. I blocked it. Permanently. Mark exploded first. Are you out of your mind? Do you understand the bill here? Do you? I understand exactly. I said, I saw every charge. Veronica hissed. Then you know we can't just walk away from this hotel. They want immediate payment. That's between you and them, I replied. Lila's breath hitched. Mom, please, they're threatening to keep our passports. They're calling security. You can't do this to me. For the first time in years, she sounded like the child I once held through winter storms. But I reminded myself who had left that text on my phone. You did this to yourself, I said, and you did it to me. Another silence. Then a low, sharp click. The call ended. I stood by the counter, hands trembling. Not from fear, but from something steadier, something long overdue. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again, an international number. This is the front office of the Burj Al Arab, a man said, his accent precise. We are confirming payment for a suite under the names Mark and Lila Roth. And Veronica Roth. The cardholder has reported fraudulent activity. We must verify with you. It was fraudulent, I said. I did not authorize any of it. Then we will proceed accordingly. He replied. I heard murmuring behind him raised voices. Lila's crying. Veronica shouting in outrage. The man apologized for the commotion. I told him it wasn't his fault. When he hung up, the house went quiet again. My quiet, not theirs. Somewhere in Dubai, thousands of miles away, 3 people who had spent my life savings were standing in a lobby with no payment method, no escape, and no one left to call. I met the attorney on a gray Thursday morning in Milwaukee's 3rd Ward. His office sat above an old warehouse, the kind of place where exposed brick pretended to soften bad news. His name was Daniel Keene, mid-50s. Steady voice, eyes that had seen every kind of family disaster. Ms. Keaton, he said as he motioned me into a chair. I read your email. Tell me what happened. I laid everything on the table, the card details I'd given Lila, the charges in Dubai, the text from the pool. Daniel listened without interrupting, his pen scraping slowly across a legal pad. When I finished, he folded his hands. What your daughter did is felony fraud. The amount alone qualifies. And the intent is clear. The message she sent, that makes it worse. My stomach tightened. Hearing it labeled so plainly shifted something inside me. What are my options, I asked. He slid a sheet toward me. 2 paths. Civil restitution. You demand full repayment under a legal agreement, or a criminal case. The district attorney could pursue charges. Prison time is possible. I swallowed hard. I don't want her in prison. Most parents don't, he said gently. But you do need protection and consequences. He reached for another folder. There's something else. Your will. I blinked. My will. You told me your daughter is the sole heir. If she feels entitled to your money now, that won't change later. Updating your will is a basic safety measure. It was the calm way he said it, the assumption that protecting myself was not betrayal, but survival that finally steadied me. I want to move forward, I told him. With everything. The restitution. The will. All of it. Daniel nodded once, approving. Then today is the day you draw your line. As I signed the first document, my hand didn't shake. The line had already been drawn long before I walked into that office. Daniel scheduled the meeting for a Monday afternoon in a conference room downtown. I arrived early, the legal folder in my hands, heavier than anything I had ever carried. He reviewed the documents once more, his voice low and steady. You know what your boundaries are. He reminded me, we don't move an inch unless you choose to. The door opened. Lila walked in first. Her eyes were swollen, her hair pulled into a messy knot that tried and failed to look composed. Behind her came Mark, jaw tight, suit too crisp for someone claiming humility. A third man followed young, polished. Clearly their attorney. Lila tried to smile. It broke halfway. Mom, she whispered, thank you for coming. I nodded, but didn't speak. Their lawyer opened a folder. Ms. Mercer, my clients wish to resolve this privately. They acknowledge there was confusion about the use of your card. Daniel didn't even let him finish. Felony fraud is not confusion. We're here to discuss repayment and long-term protections. The air tightened. Mark leaned forward first. Hollis, we're prepared to pay you back, though not in a single installment. I answered calmly. All of it was spent at once. Lila flinched as if I had slapped her. Her lawyer cleared his throat. Our proposal is monthly payments of $500 until the total is covered. Daniel slid our counteroffer across the table. $700 a month. 60 months, full repayment of $39,500, including interest and legal fees. Mark's face darkened. That's impossible. It's necessary, I said. Lila finally spoke, her voice breaking. Mom, please. I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed you. But removing me from your will, that's That's forever. She covered her face with her hands. I don't want your money. I just don't want you to erase me. Daniel stayed silent, letting me answer. You erased yourself, I said quietly. Every time you chose them over me. Every time you let Veronica talk down to me. And when you sent that message, that was the day you told me exactly what I meant to you. Lila sobbed openly now. I was stupid. I was showing off. I never meant. You meant it enough to write it. I said. Mark stepped in, voice softer than before. Hollis. She's paying for her mistake. We all are. Isn't that enough? I looked at my daughter. The girl who once promised to take me somewhere warm someday. The woman in a Dubai pool who said I didn't deserve a vacation. I spent years believing I had to keep forgiving because I was her mother. I said, but forgiveness without change is just permission. The lawyer pushed the agreement toward them. Lila's hand shook as she signed. Mark pressed the pen harder, angry strokes cutting across the page. Daniel slid the papers to me for the final signature. Lila whispered, Mom. Don't, I signed. The fracture didn't happen with a dramatic crack. It was quiet, a clean, almost gentle break in the bone of our history. As we stood to leave, Lila reached for my arm. I stepped back. I'm choosing myself this time, I said. She dropped her hand slowly. As if realizing she had lost something she never believed she could lose. The meeting ended. The damage did not. The first repayment arrived on the 5th of the month, $700 transferred into my account at 8:24 in the morning. I stared at the number for a long time. Not triumphant, not relieved, just steady in a way I had not felt in years. I walked to the grocery store that afternoon and bought things I had not allowed myself in a long time: fresh strawberries, real butter, a small roast for the weekend. The cashier made a casual comment about the change in my usual purchases. I only smiled. She had no idea what those bags meant to me. At home, I unpacked everything carefully. The refrigerator looked fuller than it had since before Lila left for college. I made myself a cup of tea, the good kind I used to ration. The steam felt like a small blessing. Days slipped into a new rhythm. I got up early, read in the mornings, walked along the lake when the weather cooperated. I spoke to neighbors more. I let myself enjoy silence without feeling lonely in it. Lila sent messages sometimes. Short ones. Mom, I hope you're okay. Mom, I'm thinking of you. Mom, can we talk someday? I read them. Let them sit, then set the phone down without answering. Boundaries. Daniel had said, were not punishment. They were protection. Some nights I almost typed a reply, but then I remembered the pool photo, the text that had sliced through me, and I let the screen go dark again. One evening near dusk, I turned on the small lamp by the window, the one I used to leave on when I waited for Lila to visit. Now its light filled only my living room. Warm and quiet. It glowed not for someone coming back, but for the woman who had finally come home to herself.